Well, we have a saying on this show that conspiracy theories are just 6-month spoiler alerts for what's to come. And there's no shame in raising these questions. So here's one for you. With over 30 million, upwards of 43 million illegal immigrants that have poured across the border during Biden's presidency, and the federal government is building massive facilities that can sleep tens of thousands of individuals all across the country. You probably haven't heard about these large facilities, have you? Well, why are they being built? Who are they for? We might finally have an answer. Listen.
It's not for these illegals, especially let's go off the numbers that they're telling us that there really are. They're saying, what, 11 million? In reality, I can tell you right now, with talking to all of the agents that I've talked to, private sector, looking at the cameras and all the real data, we're over 30 plus million who've actually entered this country.
Yep.
And so even with that, even though that's enough to replace about 36 states population, why would they need to continue to do that if they're trying to absorb these guys, make them productive members of our society, get them into housing, because we know that there are already housing projects being coordinated with builders, again, with our money. I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for illegal immigrants. Who is it for? Dissidents? We're going to unpack this with former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carroll, who did this interview as part of his new documentary, Treason, scouring the country right now. And you just keep bringing unbelievable revelation after unbelievable revelation as part of this story. And I think, again, most Americans have no idea what is going on, and it's being absolutely kept from the American people right now. And JJ joins us once again here on the show. Great to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Clayton. And thank you for talking about this documentary, because as I travel the nation, I have I believe I'm an expert on this topic. However, when you talk to people, and I have interviewed multiple people from all different levels of ability to get intelligence gathering data, it's fascinating to me and shocking at the same time when I speak to people that are very compartmentalized, meaning they focus on child sex trafficking. They talk about the gang members. They talk about facilities, and you get deep in that rabbit hole. Really, it's a rabbit hole. You're like, I didn't know it was this deep. I didn't know it was this broad. I didn't know it was this malicious. And you played this clip from someone I interviewed this past weekend. Her name is Christy Hutcherson, and she runs an organization called Women Fighting for America. But her background was federal contracting, and more specifically, abroad, but specifically, she worked on forward operation bases, FOBs, in military war zones, where she would put up these giant soft-sided facilities, water, food, et cetera, et cetera. So we're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, right, that have transferred from her company, which she no longer is a part of, but she has access to all the bid contracts. So I'm interviewing her, and like I said, I have a very good understanding of what the hell's going on in America under this immigration invasion. But when I speak to people that are very dialed in on very specific areas, I'm shocked. And she tells me, and I didn't know this because I don't have access to it. She has access to the federal database where you can go on a website and there are endless bids for contracts from whatever. But she's focusing in on, she says to me, there's bids for detention facilities being built in all 50 states in America. And I said, okay, hold on a second. Say that again. She says, okay, I can go into a database because my company used to bid on all this. And I bid overseas, international contracts. Very, very intelligent woman, very, very connected. And she says, I go in the database, JJ, and there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? Are they built for all the illegal aliens or the unaccompanied alien children? Of course not. And she has a point, right? because
why
so you're
would, yeah, you would think, right? So that's where I was confused. I would have thought, okay, they're building all of these detention facilities across the United States for a purpose, illegal immigrants. But no, right? Because as your data has suggested, most of these ICE facilities, right? Can you talk about that, are completely empty?
Yes. Well, they are completely empty. I talked to my buddies in Texas and in San Diego, and I talked to my ICE supervisors, and they tell me, JJ, they're empty. So you're talking anywhere from 30 to 40,000 beds across America, mainly on the southern border, right, are empty. Well, why are they empty? Because we have massive catch and release. Let me explain what this looks like. In the old days, right? The old days, Clayton, 3.5 years ago, not 30 years ago, when I got someone that was special interest alien, deported felon, whatever, I didn't release them. I sent them to an ICE holding facility, and they went and they waited there a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was, to go in front of the judge, find deported, or found to be guilty of reentering as a felon. Then they spent time in federal prison, and then they would be deported. So we had all this bed space. But now, if I get someone that's a deported felon, I know this is going to be hard for people to believe. I arrest someone that's a deported felon now, I'm releasing them. I'm releasing them on the street. So you go from arresting people 3 years ago, setting up for deportation and prosecution, goes to, we call it camp, a camp space in an ICE facility, and then that individual goes through the court system and then is ultimately deported after he or she serves her time. Not now. Everyone gets arrested by the Border Patrol. They quickly vet them, and then release them. Just release them. We just had 8, I'm going to mispronounce it, Kyrgyzstanians, 8 of them that crossed the border, were vetted and released. Now we find out they were actually ISIS terrorists. ICE had to go find them. All 8 of them, I believe, entered together, but all 8 of them didn't stay together. They went to Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York. So what Ms. Hutcherson is saying is, in coordination with what I know, is you have 40,000 beds. Why would you need more? Mayorkas continues to go in front of Congress and demanding, I need more money for ICE beds. And they say to him, sir, you have no one in them. I'll give you an example. San Diego sector has like a 2,000 bed, soft-sided, hard-sided facility. The last I checked was 6 people in there.
People
6.
better wake up. People better wake up. I mean, he's
okay,
before
Clay,
Congress. He's sitting before Congress demanding more money from Congress to build more beds. And they've been built, and they're all empty. They're all empty.
Yes.
I mean,
because we don't hold people anymore.
It's a good thing your documentary is called Treason, because this is treason. I mean, this is exactly what this is. What money does he need? And then what are these detention facilities being built for, as she was talking about, in all 50 states? I mean, we're talking millions of beds across the United States. For whom?
Yeah, well, and she says in this interview, they're for dissidents, American dissidents. And she's right, because I know how that sounds, Clayton. I know when I say this out loud, like you and I talked about this before, I have an inner voice, and I'm like, oh God, I got to say this out loud. But it's true. So if I'm telling you that our federal government is building detention facilities across America, and therefore people that dissent, meaning people that don't want vaccines, people that are J6ers, people that are creating militias, and you go, oh, JJ, you're insane. And I push back to you. Let's go back 20 years to present day. Are you telling me this is more insane right now, what I'm talking about, than if I told you prior to 9/11, someone's going to fly planes into a building, they're going to fall down, no one's going to believe it, then we're going to use weapons of mass destruction, we're going to go into the Middle East, we're going to be in a war for over 20 years, we're going to spend $4 trillion, thousands of men and women are going to die, American soldiers, tens of thousands are going to be brutalized in their brain and physically destroyed with limbs and burns. The government's going to create a bioweapon. Our government, with China, is going to release it onto America and the world. Then they're going to lie to us and not tell us where it went. Then they're going to make us wear masks, stand 6 feet apart. They make this out of whole cloth. Then they're going to admit to it. and then they're going to force us all to get vaccines, and millions of people are dying or being injured by that vaccine. Then I'm going to use another one. I'm going to go in front of Congress. I'm going to tell you that the border's secure as video of millions of people are coming across. I just laid out 3 insane scenarios, and you're telling me that this is more crazy than those 3 that I told you?
I mean, JJ, you're
No.
nowhere near as crazy as I am. I could give you a list of 20 right now that we cover on our show.
Yes.
And everything. You want to go back to the Oklahoma City bombing? I mean, I could go on and on and on for the level of lies that our government has told us and put forth a narrative, a public narrative, and behind the scenes they're crafting something incredibly nefarious right now. I mean, it doesn't sound crazy to me at all. And I think you have large militias that are coming together across the United States right now who are preparing. I mean, we've been covering this on the show. I mean, we're talking 80, 100,000 Americans who are preparing right now for what's coming. So they're building these large facilities. Can you speak to some of the specifics of these facilities and who's facilitating this? Is this Department of Homeland Security? Is it Department of Defense? Is it NGOs with the help of with Mayorkas at the Department of Homeland Security? How is this coming together? What do these facilities look like?
I think they're going to look like just the facilities that we're seeing where the children are being held in, those FEMA camps. That's what they're building. They're building FEMA camps. The way she explained it to me was like the way she set up her company would set up forward operation bases in military zones where they would go in, barbed wire fences, soft-sided, those big white tents that come across. We see the videos. We see it in Hollywood movies where you can put 5, 10, 15,000 people in and just jam them into quarters. And
I should point out, to your point, she's not making this up. This was her job, and she's seeing the bids coming through in the contracts. So this is not fantasy.
No, this is not. This might happen. This is happening. Now we come to the crossroads. Do you believe that your federal government has your best interest? It's simple as that. Do you believe our government is malicious and nefarious? Look what they're doing to January 6ers. Look at that. But think of on a massive scale. We don't have to go back far in history. They interned Japanese Americans in camps. So you're telling me this government, the government that's been lying to you for decades, is now all going to be kumbaya and they found God and they're going to do righteous things? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They locked you in your houses for months on some BS COVID stuff, right? COVID was real, but they locked you in your houses. What happens when we rise up and go, I'm not staying in my houses? Oh, you're not? National Guard, martial law, round them up. So I have a woman that I think is highly intelligent, very, very successful, has made a lot of money in her business, and now is devoting her life to fighting the federal government and exposing the truth. And she's telling me, JJ, this is for dissidents. When I talk to experts, and then I fact check that expert, and I talk to other experts, and they validate, I cannot logically listen to someone like that and then dismiss her. No, you don't know what you're talking about. No, she obviously knows what the hell she's talking about, Clayton. Look, the more I go on this journey, called me and Ryan Madden, my business partner on this documentary, called A Journey, I am absolutely shocked at what I learned. I send you stuff, right? As I come back, I send you and I tell you, Clayton, I know this is going to sound crazy. This is what I uncovered. I know it's bizarro world, but it is. I mean, this week I sat and talked to multiple people that have intimate access of child sex trafficking. So grotesque that I go home after these trips and I literally have to figure a way to decompress my brain from what I'm hearing.
What's amazing to me is you've been on the front lines for 24 years on the border. The stuff that you've seen is horrific, and the fact that you need to come home and decompress from what you're now hearing is incredibly disturbing.
Look, Clayton, I come home. Literally, this is how it goes. I spend 3 or 4 days filming, interviewing, going to areas, talking to whistleblowers, and when I'm flying home, I'm exhausted, but I'm so amped up because I'm trying to process what I learned and then trying to sift through and intellectually go through what I've been told and say, okay, is this true? Okay, how do I fact check this? And then dear God, it is true. Okay, how am I going to articulate this to America? And then in my brain, I know that this is just a personal talking point, but I personally think, God, I have to go down this road again, right? I have to go on national TV or huge podcasts like yourself and say the crazy out loud, right? I have to say like I wrote it in my book, Invaded. I had to write crazy stuff, knowing that it was factually true and the data said this will happen down the line. And everything I wrote, everything I've been saying is factually true. I mean, Clayton, go back to, I think I've been talking to you for several months now. Go back to the things that you and I talked about 6 months ago. Everything that I've said has happened.
Right.
Outrageous stuff.
Right.
It's happened. The revelations have happened. Is there a race war in Chicago? Get ready. Yes. Now everybody acknowledges it. Everyone doesn't want to talk about sex trafficking. Now that you and I have talked about it, I see it everywhere. And it's not algorithms on my phone. I'm talking willy-nilly people that I would never expect to talk about are talking about it.
Finally.
Everything that I am saying to you has come factually true. So if I've told you 10 things that have come true or actually data proven truth, why would this be a lie?
Right.
Honestly, why would I come to your show and lie?
And we can see them. Here's the thing. We can see the tangible evidence of this. We can see the contracts.
Yes.
We can see them being built in all 50 states across the United States. And we're going to see what happens here. I think, we can go into speculative territory here, but we are entering a very dangerous election. And what is going to happen with this election in 2024? We've had Colonel McGregor on the show who believes we are heading, not even having an election. So what are these camps going to be for? If they're not for illegal immigrants, what are they being used for? And she says dissidents. I mean, keep it tuned right here. I mean, I really think that this is an eye-opening and terribly scary piece of this. I want our audience has been fantastic in this. You guys can pre-order JJ's documentary right now. Pre-order it. Support this. This is independent journalism of the best kind. All you need to do is go to thisistreason.com. We are not affiliated with it at all. I just believe in it wholeheartedly and I want to promote it. So you guys can pre-order the documentary right now to help support this journalism. Go to thisistreason.com, pre-order it, and it'll be out. Your goal is like sometime in the fall, right? Like September or October when it'll publish.
Yep.
So we'll make sure
First week in September.
Oh, great. So when that publishes, we'll make sure JJ is here, and we will promote the heck out of it. Hopefully this is one of the most eye-opening documentaries you will ever see. But please, guys, go pre-order this right now. JJ is doing incredible work along with Ryan as they uncover these stories, and we're able to bring them to you here and elevate them as much as we can. JJ has got to get on a flight right now. He's going to cover more of this right now, so we don't want to hold him up anymore. JJ, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. This is an unbelievable story.
Thank you very much, Clayton, as always.